Okay, so this is our final piece. I'm just going to go through it and talk about a few points. Okay, so that sound just there was actually the reverse of the ending of this video. When I got to the end, I did a short bounce of that, and then I time stretched it up, and it ended up sounding like going into a digital watch kind of sound. So if anyone wanted to loop this video, I thought instead of having a sound that comes out of nowhere, I'll take that ending sound and I'll just reverse it so that as the video ticks over on its loopage, then the ending sort of fades into the beginning, if you like. This explosion sound is just a recording of a fan. It's directly going into the microphone, so it's quite bassy, and the fan's got a little sort of tick on it, which gives it a nice middle and treble, not just bass on it. I actually didn't edit that at all. There's no isotope editing, and there's no time stretching. I just thought it was quite a nice sound, kind of fitted. So as we're going past it, just panned it to the left, and then as we pass it, it sort of goes more towards the center, but a bit quieter. We're going behind us. No, I've just got the same gunshot, but I applied two different algorithms when I time stretched it, and the one you just heard there sounds kind of like a tire squeal. There's a car just here, and I thought it fitted quite nicely with that. It was quite accidental, but I've decided to leave it in, and then the next sound that comes in will be the second algorithm that we used for a gunshot. And then as we pass, it's going to silence. Well, not quite. And then it's been reversed as we go into the hospital. As we went through that door frame, I introduced another sound, which was kind of the result of what I got from when I hit something metallic. It's got that after ring to it, and because in my interpretation I wanted something with like a fluctuating kind of ring to represent hospital, so I've introduced that there. It's quiet at the moment because the idea of a hospital is not quite clear yet, but it'll, as we go upstairs, it'll get louder and you'll see where it comes in. So this noise is just trying to represent glass. It sounds quite staticky. What it is recorded some cutlery, but there's a lot of noise. So I've just time stretched and it sounds like a lot of static, which I think again was accidental, but it fits because we're in a reception kind of area, and radios. Now the glass sound, you might be thinking, well, why has he not done it forwards into silence and then reversed it like he has with the other sounds? Well, logically, when you think of glass shattering into millions of pieces, sound is going to continuously be exerted from it, so I don't think there will be a point in silence at any time during the glass break, so that's why I've not introduced the silence concept. I've just done it as expected, where the sound plays near the glass, but then I've reversed it as we move away. Okay, so as we went upstairs, I used a door slide in, which saw me edit in isotope, and that was to represent the camera moving upwards. Instead of the normal sample sounded like it was going downwards, so I just reversed that and used it as the camera went up. I also introduced this explosion sound and the gun sounds that was that cop shooting the clown there, and there's this police officer just here on the right shooting. So it's quite a complex layer of sounds here. Naturally, it brings out a sort of whining sound, which could be used for this girl on the left screaming or moaning, or so I didn't actually create a sound for that. The sound created itself. Okay, so as we passed the light, you might have thought that I've used a sound to represent the light, but actually what happened was the sound for these guns that are coming up and the explosion that was behind, as I reversed that and put the guns where I thought they might be, they actually overlapped at this point where the camera passes the light. That was an accident as well, but instead of changing it, I quite liked it. It gives the viewer something a bit strange to think about, and it kind of fits the nature of the suggestive video. So this is where the idea of a hospital becomes more apparent. So that's why my metallic ring sound, which is fluctuating in phase, I just chose a little part where the phase is going crazy, and I just time stretched that bit without altering the pitch too much. Yeah, with the compression, it's got a bit louder, and it sticks out more here because this is where we see the hospital sort of idea a bit more clearly. And then as we move down the corridor, it's just the panning should be coming from the right because we're moving right. Well, just one layer is. This final room is quite difficult. I wasn't sure what sounds I could include, but in the end, it feels quite natural to make some sort of build-up. We're getting towards the end of the video here, and in fact, all the sounds that we've used before kind of can be fitted into this room. We've got the idea of a clown, the police, there's a gunshot coming from behind us, we've got a glass smashing, and so this room could be used as a sort of build up, it kind of suspense, yeah, just sort of mixture of all the sounds put together. So that's what I've done, and this is where the build up starts. With all the sounds put together, it sounds quite eerie. Like there's a scary factor in there. That's what I've got in terms of feedback from other people. I'm not sure if I wanted it to be scary, but I've just left it as it is, and it's up to the viewer to determine how they want to feel about it, really. So as we come down there, I've just used that door slide again. It's just quite subtle in the compression. It comes down, and then as we come onto the clown mask and away, you can hear sort of more of a drop between the mask and the police officer, and I think that fits quite well, luckily. And as I said before, before I got that digital sound leading up to like a digital watch kind of beeping, I just bounced that end, which was like the concepts for clowns and the police and a bit of glass and a bit of that door slide. I bounced that and then time stretched it so it sort of had an envelope where it led up to a peak in terms of pitch. And then that's how I got that digital watch sound, and then I just applied that to the beginning, which will allow it to be looped. This is just an evaluation of the finished result. I think it's pretty good, but there are some things that I would have done differently if I could have done it again. After time stretching some of my samples, there were some artifacts that were created in that, and what I could have done was go back to iZotope and clean them up after time stretching, as well as before. When I put some samples into layers, I automated one layer for panning, and that was controlling all of those sounds in that layer. I think what I should have done was automate them individually or have a subgroup in that, because when I was like panning everything to the left, there was sound that was coming from the front that was in the same layer, but it was going to the left with all the other samples, and I couldn't really make it come from a different direction unless I separated it into something else. So that's probably something I should have thought about. The time stretching, I tried most of the different algorithms. There were a couple in there that I liked, and I used them more frequently. The monophonic one was one of my favorites. That created a really nice gun sound that I've used, and I applied it to a couple more things. The other one was the complex algorithm, which it worked quite well. It kept the frequencies the same, but changing the length, and it didn't create too many discrepancies. But I think I overused it a bit too much, and as a result, the video's got a lot of metallic sort of electronic noises in it, and I think the video probably could have done with some more natural sounds rather than just time stretching everything. I applied a lot of compression. I applied some compression to each sound on that channel, and then when I went into the layer, I compressed that layer, and then I compressed the final output as well with a limiter. I think it's probably a bit too over compressed. There's not a big enough range of dynamics, so that's something I would have changed. And in terms of suggestivity and putting more sounds in there, because this video is quite suggestive and thought-provoking, I probably would have put some more natural sounds in there that might give the viewer something to think about, something to question what you're seeing. And another thing would be to time stretch using different applications. Like the ones in Logic were fine, but they were quite grainy, and like I said, just gave a bit too much of a digital sound. So perhaps using different applications to time stretch samples, like iZotope's got a good one, and some different doors. Okay, in addition to that, I'd just like to say that I also would have changed the way I represented the camera. In real life, you get that Doppler effect where if something moves away from the observer, the frequency of it changes, and all I did really was automate the volume of all the sounds and put some silence in there towards the peak of the action. But I could have applied a bit more pitch envelopes. Yeah, I think that's it really. Thanks for watching.